Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the English Globe, and thank you for joining us for another long educational journey where we break down complex global topics into slow and simple English. And today we begin with a subject that is becoming increasingly important in international discussions as South Korea strengthens its defense technology, expands its global partnerships, and positions itself as a possible future military superpower, making this a valuable listening practice for learners who want to understand the world clearly.
I am truly glad to be here today because discussing South Korea's rise in military strength gives learners an opportunity to explore not only the basic facts about defense systems, but also the larger picture of how countries use technology, diplomacy, and strategic planning to remain safe in a changing world. And this topic is especially helpful for English students who wish to build vocabulary related to security, geography, and international cooperation.
Many people around the world are asking whether South Korea is becoming a major global military power, and the reason this question matters is that South Korea has transformed rapidly from a country focused mainly on economic growth into a technologically advanced nation with sophisticated defense industries, modern equipment, and strong alliances. And learning about this development helps listeners understand how global stability is shaped in real time.
Before we move deeper into this topic, we kindly invite all our listeners to support the English Globe by liking this video, because your likes help our educational content reach more learners, allowing us to continue producing long and thoughtful podcasts that are designed to improve listening skills, explain world events clearly, and create a comfortable space where international students can learn without feeling overwhelmed by difficult language.
We also encourage you to subscribe to the English Globe because subscribing ensures that you receive all our upcoming episodes about world news, history, culture, and global issues explained step by step in simple English, giving you regular practice that builds confidence, strengthens comprehension, and helps you stay engaged with the world while improving your communication skills in a relaxed and supportive environment.
Listeners, we would love to know where you are listening from, so please write your country or city in the comments, because our community includes people from Asia, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and the Americas. And seeing your locations helps us understand how far our lessons travel and reminds us that English learning is a global journey that connects people from many different cultures, backgrounds, and experiences.
We also invite you to share your opinion about today's topic by telling us whether you believe South Korea is moving toward becoming a military superpower, because your thoughts help us understand what ideas matter to our audience, and they also guide us when we choose future topics so that we continue creating episodes that are relevant, meaningful, and helpful for learners who enjoy exploring world events.
I believe that starting our episode with your participation makes the learning experience more interactive. And when learners share their perspectives about security, development, or international relations, it creates a friendly environment where people practice English while thinking carefully about how different countries influence global peace, technology growth, and the future of regional stability in Asia.
Now that we have welcomed our listeners and introduced the main idea of today's episode, we can begin exploring why South Korea's military development is receiving so much global attention, especially as the country invests heavily in advanced weapons, strengthens cybersecurity programs, expands its defense exports, and continues working closely with international partners to prepare for emerging challenges in the modern world.
This discussion is important for English learners because understanding how countries respond to security concerns helps develop critical thinking skills, encourages awareness of global events, and teaches vocabulary that is useful for academic conversations, job interviews, and future study, especially for those who want to talk confidently about international issues in clear and respectful English. By learning about today's topic, listeners will not only understand South Korea's military growth, but also gain insight into how nations balance economic development with defense investment, how alliances work to maintain peace, and how technologies such as drones, missile systems, and cybersecurity tools is becoming central to national protection in ways that were not possible several decades ago. As we move forward through this episode, we will continue speaking slowly and clearly so that every listener, no matter their English level, can follow each idea comfortably while also discovering new expressions, phrases, and useful knowledge about global security. And our goal is to support your learning by making big and complex topics feel easy, friendly, and enjoyable to explore.
We appreciate each one of you for being part of the English Globe community, and we want you to feel confident that this episode, like all of our others, is designed to help you learn English through real-world issues while protecting your listening comfort, reducing stress, and giving you a peaceful space where you can grow your language skills at your own steady pace.
With your support, your comments, and your engagement, we are ready to continue into the next part of the episode, where we will begin explaining South Korea's geography, regional challenges, and the security environment that shapes its decisions. And we will take each part slowly so that you can understand every detail and learn English through meaningful global knowledge.
South Korea is a country located on the southern part of the Korean peninsula in East Asia, and its geography is very important to understand because the nation is surrounded by powerful neighbors such as China, Japan, and Russia, with the sea on 3 sides and a long land border in the north that divides it from North Korea, creating a unique environment where geography influences politics, security planning, and the daily decisions made by the country's leaders.
Because South Korea is only connected by land to North Korea, the two countries share one of the most heavily guarded borders in the world, and this border is known as the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, which is a narrow area filled with fences, soldiers, and surveillance systems, and even though it is called demilitarized, it remains a tense space where history, ideology, and military caution come together in a very sensitive and carefully controlled way.
The tension between South Korea and North Korea began after the end of the Second World War, when the peninsula was divided into 2 regions influenced by different political systems. And this division eventually led to the Korean War from 1950 to 1953, which caused enormous destruction and ended without a peace treaty, meaning that the 2 countries are still technically at war, shaping how South Korea thinks about defense, preparedness, and long-term security planning.
For English learners, it is important to understand that South Korea's modern defense strategy is deeply shaped by its northern neighbor's military activities, because North Korea continues to develop missiles, conduct tests, and maintain a very large army. And these actions create uncertainty in the region. So South Korea invests heavily in technology, training, and cooperation with its partners to ensure that it can respond calmly and effectively to any possible challenge that may arise.
Another geographic concern is that South Korea is surrounded by seas that connect it to busy shipping routes used for global trade, and because the country depends heavily on imported energy and exported goods, it must protect its waters and support safe movement of commercial ships, which is one reason the South Korean Navy has become increasingly modern and capable, focusing on protecting maritime borders, sea lanes, and economic stability in the wider region.
South Korea's position between major powers also means that its security decisions are influenced by wider regional competition, because the South China Sea, the East China Sea, and the Pacific Ocean are frequently discussed in global politics, and South Korea must navigate these tensions carefully, working to maintain good diplomatic relationships while also strengthening its defense systems so that it can remain safe, independent, and stable in a complex environment.
Another important point for learners to understand is that South Korea's small geographic size makes rapid response extremely important, because cities, transportation routes, and military bases are relatively close to each other, which means that early warning systems, air defense networks, and communication structures play a critical role in protecting the population and ensuring that the government can respond quickly to any sudden threat.
In addition to traditional military concerns, South Korea also faces modern security challenges, such as cyber attacks and digital interference, because advanced countries often become targets for hackers who try to steal information or disrupt important systems. And as South Korea continues to grow in technology and industry, it must strengthen its cyber defenses so that banks, transportation networks, and government institutions remain safe from digital threats.
Because of these geographic and historical realities, South Korea builds its defense plans with a combination of caution and innovation, investing in advanced missiles, strong radar systems, powerful naval ships, and highly trained military units, while also working with allies to maintain peace and stability. And this combination of preparation and cooperation helps the country manage risk, while focusing on economic growth and technological progress.
For English learners, understanding South Korea's geography helps explain why the country takes security so seriously, because peaceful daily life depends on careful planning and strong defensive measures. And by learning how geography, history, and modern technology all connect together, you gain a clearer picture of why South Korea's military development is receiving so much attention internationally.
As we continue our episode, we will explore how South Korea's unique position in the region influences not only its military decisions, but also its relationships with other nations. And understanding these relationships will help you follow global news more confidently, while also improving your vocabulary related to international affairs, defense strategy, and peaceful cooperation between countries.
Now that we have explained the basic geography and security concerns in simple English, we are ready to move deeper into the next part of our discussion, where we will look at South Korea's current military strength and examine how its army, navy, air force, and technology work together to protect the nation and maintain stability in a region full of rapid changes and complex challenges.
South Korea's military strength is very impressive because the country has built a multidimensional force composed of a modern army, a strong navy, an advanced air force, cyber defense units, and a growing missile capability. And this combination means the nation can address different kinds of threats and protect itself in many ways, not just with traditional soldiers, but also with technology, intelligence, and defensive systems working together.
Let us first talk about the army, which is one of the most important parts of South Korea's defense, because the army has many well-trained soldiers who receive regular, rigorous training in both basic infantry skills and more specialized roles. And they also have access to modern equipment such as armored vehicles, artillery, and reconnaissance tools, which helps them be ready and effective in different security scenarios, whether on the border or in strategic locations.
In addition, the South Korean army benefits from a large number of reservists, because many young men serve in active duty before returning to civilian life and remain ready to be mobilized quickly. And this system ensures that, in a crisis, South Korea can rapidly increase its military manpower, giving it a strong capacity for defense even under sudden or large-scale threats, which is very important when considering its northern neighbor and possible regional dangers.
Turning to the Navy, South Korea maintains a capable maritime force that guards its surrounding seas, protects key shipping lanes, and supports trade routes. And this Navy includes a fleet of destroyers, frigates, submarines, and logistic ships, which allows South Korea not only to defend its coastal waters, but also to project strength and maintain stability over the seas that are vital for trade, energy imports, and national security.
What makes the Navy especially strong is that South Korea has invested in modern warships equipped with advanced radar, missile launchers, and anti-submarine warfare technologies, giving its naval forces the ability to detect and respond to underwater or surface threats, to safeguard its maritime borders, and to cooperate effectively with allied navies, ensuring that it is not only defensive, but capable of supporting complex regional missions.
Now, let us consider the Air Force, which plays a critical role in South Korea's overall defense, because its air fleet consists of modern fighter jets, transport planes, and surveillance aircraft that help the country maintain control of its airspace, support ground forces when needed, and provide early warning in case of hostile activity, thereby enhancing the country's readiness to respond to both conventional and emerging threats.
The South Korean Air Force is further strengthened by its use of state-of-the-art aircraft, such as multi-role fighters, advanced radar-equipped planes, and possibly unmanned aerial systems, which allow it to carry out reconnaissance, air defense, strike missions, and rapid transport, making the Air Force a flexible and highly capable branch that contributes significantly to national security in a wide range of missions.
Another core part of South Korea's military strength is its missile systems, because the country has developed and deployed a variety of ballistic and guided missiles that can reach medium to long ranges. And this missile capability gives South Korea strategic depth, meaning that it can deter potential threats by having the ability to strike or defend at different distances, which is a very powerful advantage in modern military balancing.
Among these missiles are ballistic variants and cruise missiles, which can be launched from land-based platforms or mobile launchers, and South Korea has made progress on both offensive and defensive missile technologies, including systems that provide precise targeting, strong mobility, and improved accuracy, giving its military the capacity to respond to emerging threats quickly and with force if needed.
In addition to traditional forces, South Korea is very serious about cyber defense, because digital threats are as dangerous today as physical ones, and the country has built specialized cyber units that monitor networks, track potential attacks, and defend critical infrastructure such as government systems, financial institutions, and public utilities against hackers, espionage, and disruptive cyber operations.
These cyber defense teams are staffed by highly skilled experts in information technology, encryption, and defensive programming, and they constantly train, simulate cyber attacks, and develop new methods to secure sensitive data so that South Korea's digital space remains resilient in the face of increasingly sophisticated threats, which shows that the military strategy is not just about guns and ships, but also about defending in the digital realm.
An important feature of South Korea's military is the integration of all these branches: Army, Navy, Air Force, missile units, and cyber defense, so that they can operate smoothly together, share intelligence, coordinate actions, and support each other in a crisis, which means that the military is not just powerful in separate parts, but also in combined operations, making it more effective, efficient, and ready to face complex challenges.
This integrated approach helps South Korea protect its territory, deter aggression, and reassure its allies, because when forces are well coordinated, they can respond faster and more precisely, which makes South Korea more credible as a strong military actor and increases its ability to maintain peace, security, and stability in a region that can often be unpredictable and tense.
For English learners, understanding South Korea's current military strength in this simple, clear way helps you see how a modern nation defends itself using more than just soldiers. It uses ships, planes, missiles, and even computer experts. And by learning these ideas in easy English, you not only improve your vocabulary, but also build confidence in talking about global security, defense strategy, and the modern challenges that countries face today in a fast-changing world.
In the next part of our discussion, we will examine how South Korea's defense technology is being developed in its own domestic weapons industry, and how investing in local production of advanced systems gives the country more independence, innovation, and resilience so that its military strength continues to grow in a way that supports both national security and economic progress. South Korea has become one of the world's most advanced builders of military technology because the country invests heavily in research, engineering, and innovation, which allows its domestic companies to design high-tech systems such as modern aircraft, powerful naval ships, smart missile defenses, unmanned drones, and armored vehicles. And all of these technologies work together to support national security and reduce reliance on foreign suppliers.
One of the most impressive examples of South Korean technology is its fighter jet programs, because the country has moved from purchasing foreign aircraft to developing its own models like the KF-21, which is a next-generation fighter designed to be fast, highly maneuverable, and equipped with advanced sensors. And this shows how South Korea is becoming more independent by producing complex aircraft that strengthen both its air force and its defense industry.
South Korea's domestic aerospace industry works with universities, government laboratories, and global partners to create engines, radar systems, electronic warfare tools, and precision weapons that can be used with its fighter jets. And this teamwork helps the country develop skills and knowledge that make its future aircraft even more capable, giving South Korea more control over its air defense strategy and improving its ability to respond to modern threats.
The country is also well known for producing advanced naval ships because South Korean shipyards build destroyers, submarines, frigates, and amphibious vessels that are equipped with high-quality radar, anti-submarine systems, missile launchers, and electronic control technology. And these ships not only protect South Korea's waters, but are also exported to several countries, showing how strong and competitive the domestic shipbuilding industry has become.
One major strength of South Korean naval technology is its focus on stealth features and automation, which help ships remain harder to detect while using advanced software to manage weapons, navigation, and communication systems. And this level of technological sophistication makes the Navy more efficient, more secure, and more capable of operating in complex environments where speed, accuracy, and information are critical.
South Korea has also developed modern tanks and armored vehicles, such as the K-2 Black Panther, which is considered one of the most advanced tanks in the world because it has strong mobility, high-tech armor, precise fire control systems, and powerful weapons. And these features allow the army to respond effectively to land threats while providing protection and high performance in difficult environments.
The technology behind these armored vehicles includes digital monitoring systems, automatic targeting assistance, and advanced engines that allow the tank to move quickly across difficult terrain. And these innovations show how South Korea uses engineering and modern design to create equipment that can support ground forces in both defensive and offensive situations, making the army stronger and more adaptable in today's strategic environment.
Another major area of development is drones and unmanned systems, because South Korea recognizes that future military operations will rely heavily on remote technology, surveillance tools, and autonomous platforms. So the country is designing drones that can gather information, monitor borders, support search missions, and assist ground or air operations, all while reducing risk to human soldiers and improving real-time awareness.
These drones work together with radar systems, satellites, and artificial intelligence programs to provide a clear picture of the situation on land, at sea, or in the air, which helps commanders make better decisions and improves the speed and accuracy of military responses. And this combination of sensors, communication tools, and high-quality data shows how technology plays a central role in South Korea's security planning.
South Korea is also strengthening its missile defense systems, which include advanced interceptors, tracking radars, and detection networks that are designed to identify incoming threats as early as possible and respond quickly. And this is especially important because the region faces fast-changing security conditions. So having strong defensive missiles helps protect cities, military bases, and major infrastructure from potential attacks.
These missile defense systems rely on sophisticated software, long-range sensors, and cooperative links with allied networks, which allow them to track multiple targets at the same time and make rapid calculations about how to intercept them. And this level of technological coordination helps South Korea build a safer environment where both military and civilian areas can be defended more effectively.
For English learners, it is useful to understand that South Korea's domestic weapons industry does more than produce machines, because it also creates jobs, supports scientific education, and encourages innovation in fields like robotics, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and advanced manufacturing, all of which help the country remain competitive in global technology markets while building the tools needed for national defense.
All of this advanced technology helps South Korea maintain stability, strengthen alliances, and protect its people in a challenging region. And by building its own weapons and systems, the country gains independence, increases reliability, and develops long-term security that does not depend completely on imports, which is an important goal for any nation that wants to remain strong and prepared in today's fast-changing world.
In the next section, we will explore how South Korea's partnerships with other countries, especially the United States, influence its military growth and help shape the region's security landscape. And we will continue explaining everything in slow and simple English so that learners can follow each idea clearly while improving their vocabulary and global knowledge.
South Korea's alliance with the United States is one of the most important aspects of its national security because after the Korean War, the two countries signed agreements to cooperate militarily, share intelligence, and conduct joint training exercises. And this long-standing partnership gives South Korea access to advanced technology, expertise, and strategic support that strengthens its military capabilities while helping maintain stability in the region without escalating tensions unnecessarily.
The US-South Korea alliance also includes the stationing of American troops in South Korea, which provides a visible deterrent against potential threats, because the presence of highly trained and well-equipped forces demonstrates that any aggression would be met with a strong response, and this helps both countries avoid conflict by showing that defense is prepared, coordinated, and backed by shared planning, which is a key principle in maintaining peace.
Another important factor is that joint military exercises between South Korea and the United States allow both countries to practice combined operations, test communication systems, and improve coordination across the Army, Navy, Air Force, and cyber units, which means that if any real threat arises, forces are ready to respond efficiently and effectively, making it harder for potential adversaries to underestimate South Korea's capabilities or make strategic moves without careful calculation.
For English learners, it is helpful to understand that military alliances are not only about soldiers and weapons, but also about trust, cooperation, and planning, because countries share information, technology, and best practices, which helps them prevent conflicts by being prepared, creating stronger defense networks, and ensuring that disputes are handled calmly and strategically, rather than escalating into sudden or dangerous confrontations.
The partnership with the United States also allows South Korea to gain access to advanced systems such as missile defense networks, surveillance satellites, and electronic warfare tools, which strengthen its ability to detect threats early, respond quickly, and protect both civilian and military targets, and by integrating these technologies with domestic systems. South Korea maximizes its security while maintaining independence and improving its own technological expertise.
This alliance is balanced and cooperative, because both countries benefit from shared knowledge and strategic planning, and it is designed to maintain regional stability rather than create tension, which is why international experts often emphasize that alliances like this reduce the risk of sudden conflict by showing that a nation is not isolated, that it can respond to challenges effectively, and that aggression would carry significant consequences for any party considering action.
South Korea's defense strategies are also shaped by joint research programs with the United States, because both countries collaborate on technology development, cybersecurity, logistics, and tactical planning, and this collaboration strengthens South Korea's domestic capabilities while allowing American expertise to guide certain operations, which together create a modern, capable, and resilient military force able to respond to conventional and unconventional threats.
For learners, it is important to note that alliances like this also influence diplomacy, because countries that work together on defense often coordinate on economic policies, trade agreements, and regional security discussions. And understanding this connection helps English students see how military cooperation is linked to global peace, stability, and international relations in ways that are not aggressive, but instead focused on preparation, deterrence, and mutual benefit.
Furthermore, the U.S.-South Korea partnership includes intelligence sharing, which allows both countries to monitor regional activities, track missile tests, and understand potential risks before they become serious, and this level of information exchange improves decision-making, reduces uncertainty, and ensures that both governments can respond carefully, responsibly, and efficiently to developments that might otherwise create tension or confusion.
In simple terms, this alliance teaches English learners an important lesson about global security, which is that working together with partners, sharing knowledge, and preparing for threats does not mean seeking conflict, but rather creating a network of cooperation, planning, and readiness that makes countries safer, strengthens regional peace, and allows nations like South Korea to grow confidently in a complex world.
By combining South Korea's domestic military strength with the United States' global expertise, technology, and experience, the alliance provides a balance of independence and support, which ensures that South Korea can defend itself while also contributing to regional stability. And understanding this relationship helps learners see how modern defense is a mix of national capabilities, partnerships, and careful strategic planning.
In the next section, we will explore South Korea's military spending and global defense exports, and explain in clear, simple English how financial investments and international trade in weapons support both national security and the country's growing reputation as a technologically advanced military power, continuing our slow and detailed approach for learners to follow comfortably and learn new vocabulary along the way.
South Korea invests a significant portion of its national budget in defense because the country faces ongoing security challenges, especially along its northern border, and maintaining a well-equipped, modern, and technologically advanced military requires funding for soldiers, equipment, research, training, and infrastructure. And this careful spending ensures that the Army, Navy, Air Force, and cyber units are ready for any situation while supporting long-term strategic planning and national stability.
For English learners, it is important to understand that defense spending means the government uses money to buy, build, and maintain military equipment, develop technology, train personnel, and improve security systems. And in South Korea's case, this includes investing in modern fighter jets, naval ships, armored vehicles, missiles, drones, radar systems, and cyber defense units, all of which help the country protect itself and maintain readiness in a complex regional environment.
In addition to domestic spending, South Korea has become one of the world's fastest-growing exporters of defense equipment, which means that Korean companies sell military products such as fighter jets, naval ships, armored vehicles, and missiles to other countries, including those in Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. And these exports allow South Korea to share technology, earn revenue, and strengthen international partnerships while promoting the reputation of its defense industry worldwide.
The term defense exports can be explained simply as selling weapons, military equipment, or technology from one country to another, and these exports often include advanced systems that are produced domestically, tested carefully, and used both for national defense and for helping other countries improve their security. And learning this concept helps English learners understand how military industries operate internationally without focusing on conflict.
South Korea's success in defense exports comes from combining advanced technology with affordability and reliability, because many countries are looking for modern equipment that is effective, efficient, and produced with high standards, and South Korea has built a strong reputation for delivering aircraft, naval ships, missile systems, and armored vehicles that meet these global requirements while also offering good maintenance, training, and support for the equipment after purchase.
These defense exports also strengthen diplomatic and strategic relationships, because when countries buy military equipment from South Korea, they often work closely with Korean engineers, trainers, and planners, which promotes trust, collaboration, and shared knowledge. And for English learners, it is interesting to see that selling equipment is not just business, but also a way to build partnerships, enhance regional security, and maintain peaceful cooperation between nations.
Another factor is that exporting defense technology allows South Korea to reinvest in its own military, because revenue from sales can support research, new equipment development, infrastructure, and training programs, which means that the country can continue improving its domestic forces while also building stronger global connections and demonstrating that it can meet international standards in advanced defense technology.
For English learners, understanding that South Korea exports weapons to Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia helps explain how modern military economies work, because countries with strong defense industries can influence global security not by engaging in war, but by providing technology, training, and support to others, which shows that military strength can be shared in ways that encourage cooperation, stability, and mutual benefit.
Defense exports also allow South Korea to showcase its innovation in military technology, because foreign customers often request customized equipment, advanced features, or specialized systems, which encourages Korean engineers and companies to continue improving aircraft, ships, tanks, missile systems, and cyber defense tools. And this continuous innovation strengthens South Korea's position as both a regional and global defense technology leader.
By studying this topic, English learners can also see the connection between money, technology, and security, because national defense is not only about soldiers or weapons, but also about funding research, producing advanced systems, and sharing knowledge through exports, which helps countries like South Korea protect themselves while contributing positively to international security and cooperation in a peaceful and responsible way.
Overall, South Korea's combination of high defense spending and growing exports demonstrates a strategic approach to national security, technology development, and international influence, because the country not only strengthens its own military, but also supports global partners, builds economic benefits, and ensures that its technological progress continues in both domestic and international contexts, making it a model of careful planning and forward-thinking defense strategy.
In the next section, we will explore South Korea's cybersecurity and space defense ambitions, explaining how modern threats require protection beyond traditional borders, and we will describe in simple English how the country uses advanced digital and space technologies to safeguard both military and civilian systems, continuing our slow, detailed, and beginner-friendly approach so learners can follow clearly while learning new vocabulary and ideas.
In the modern world, South Korea faces challenges that go beyond traditional borders, because cyber attacks, digital espionage, and technological threats have become a serious part of national security. And the country has realized that protecting military networks, government systems, banks, and critical infrastructure is just as important as defending the land, sea, and air, which is why it has developed specialized cyber defense units trained to detect, prevent, and respond to digital threats.
For English learners, cybersecurity can be explained simply as protecting computers, networks, and information from attacks, hacking, or interference, and South Korea's cyber units constantly monitor for unusual activity, analyze potential risks, and train for simulated attacks to ensure that both military and civilian systems remain secure, which is essential for a country that relies heavily on technology in daily life and defense operations.
South Korea's cyber defense programs include advanced software for monitoring networks, artificial intelligence to detect unusual patterns, and secure communication systems for military coordination. And these programs help the country respond quickly to potential attacks while minimizing damage, which demonstrates that modern defense is not only about tanks, planes, or missiles, but also about ensuring that digital systems are safe, resilient, and ready to support national security.
In addition to cybersecurity, South Korea is also focusing on space defense. Because satellites, communication networks, and space-based systems are increasingly important for monitoring threats, guiding military operations, managing navigation, and supporting economic activity, and by building space surveillance capabilities, the country ensures that it can detect potential dangers from orbit and maintain reliable data for both defense and civilian use.
Space defense involves tracking objects in orbit, monitoring potential missile launches, and ensuring that satellites remain secure from interference or attack. And South Korea has invested in both ground-based monitoring stations and advanced satellites that provide real-time information to decision-makers, which strengthens national security and ensures that the country is prepared for modern challenges in both physical and digital space.
For English learners, it is helpful to understand that protecting space systems is similar to protecting a network on Earth, because countries need to make sure that satellites, sensors, and communications remain safe and reliable, and South Korea's efforts show that modern defense requires thinking in 3 dimensions: land, air, and digital or space-based, so that the country can respond to threats in every domain.
South Korea's approach to cyber and space security also includes collaboration with private technology companies, universities, and international partners because expertise in software, artificial intelligence, encryption, and satellite technology is shared to improve detection, prevention, and response systems. And this cooperation allows South Korea to stay ahead of new threats while developing domestic capabilities in high-tech industries that are critical for long-term security.
These initiatives are supported by strong government policies and regulations that guide digital security, protect sensitive information, and promote research and development in technology. And by following clear procedures, South Korea ensures that both military and civilian organizations are aligned in protecting networks, critical infrastructure, and space assets, which reduces risk and increases overall resilience in the face of modern threats.
Cybersecurity and space defense also help South Korea maintain regional and global stability because countries with strong digital and space protection can avoid misunderstandings, prevent accidental escalations, and respond carefully to emerging threats, which demonstrates that being prepared in these areas is not aggressive, but instead responsible and strategic, supporting both national safety and international peace.
For English learners, it is interesting to note that South Korea's focus on cyber and space technology illustrates how defense has expanded in the 21st century, because modern threats can come from hackers, rogue satellites, or digital espionage. And countries that invest in these fields not only protect themselves, but also develop new skills, create innovative technologies, and train experts who can contribute to national security in multiple domains.
Overall, South Korea's cyber defense units and space surveillance systems show that a strong military today is not only measured by weapons and soldiers, but also by the ability to secure information, detect risks quickly, and respond efficiently across digital and orbital domains, which makes the country more resilient, technologically advanced, and capable of defending its people and infrastructure against 21st century threats.
In the next section, we will examine the challenges and risks that South Korea considers in its military planning, including regional tensions, technological competition, and economic limitations, and we will explain these topics slowly and simply so that learners can understand the difficulties any country faces when building a strong, modern, and balanced defense strategy while remaining peaceful and responsible in international relations.
When we compare South Korea with other military powers like Japan, China, and NATO countries, it is important to focus on capabilities and strategy rather than conflict, because South Korea has advanced technology, a well-trained army, modern naval and air forces, missile defense, and cybersecurity programs, which makes it strong regionally, but it is smaller in size and resources than some larger nations, which highlights both its strengths and limitations in a neutral educational context.
For English learners, it is helpful to know that comparing militaries does not mean encouraging war, but instead understanding how countries prepare, organize, and defend themselves. And South Korea's military emphasizes efficiency, technology, and alliances, while countries like Japan also focus on modern systems and defensive strategies. NATO members maintain large multinational forces, and China has a much larger overall force, which shows different approaches to security and defense without implying aggression.
South Korea's army is smaller than China's but highly trained, technologically equipped, and strategically positioned to respond quickly to threats along its borders. And while Japan focuses on self-defense and advanced equipment due to its pacifist constitution, NATO countries often operate large, globally deployed forces with strong logistics, and China emphasizes both size and modernization, meaning that South Korea's strategy relies on speed, technology, and partnerships to balance its geographic and resource limitations.
The South Korean Navy is strong and technologically advanced, with destroyers, submarines, and coastal defense systems, which is impressive compared with regional neighbors. But countries like China maintain a much larger navy with global reach, while Japan's maritime forces are highly capable in regional waters, and NATO countries often coordinate internationally, which shows that South Korea relies on a combination of domestic technology and alliance support to maintain maritime security without needing to compete directly with every larger power.
South Korea's air force is modern, equipped with next-generation fighter jets, surveillance aircraft, and missile defense support, which makes it highly effective within the region. But it does not have the same size as China or the United States, and countries like Japan have strong air capabilities as well, while NATO members often combine air power across countries, so South Korea focuses on precision, rapid response, and technological innovation rather than sheer numbers, which is a smart and practical approach for a smaller nation.
Another key area is missile and cyber capabilities, where South Korea invests in precision, early warning systems, and defensive technologies. And while China has larger offensive capabilities, NATO countries have integrated missile defense networks, and Japan maintains self-defense systems, which means South Korea emphasizes a balanced approach that includes advanced technology, domestic production, and collaboration with allies to maintain regional stability while avoiding unnecessary confrontation.
It is also important to understand that alliances make a difference in comparisons, because South Korea benefits from its partnership with the United States, allowing it to access shared intelligence, technology, and training programs, while NATO countries operate multinational forces that rely on coordination, and Japan strengthens regional ties through technology exchange and joint exercises, which shows that modern military power is not only about size, but also cooperation, strategy, and the ability to respond effectively.
For learners, noticing these differences helps explain that military strength can mean different things. South Korea focuses on regional defense, rapid response, technological superiority, and strategic partnerships. China emphasizes size and modernization. Japan invests in advanced defensive systems, and NATO countries rely on combined resources, coordination, and global deployment, which provides a clear, neutral, and educational way to understand relative capabilities without promoting conflict.
Overall, comparing South Korea with other military powers shows that each country has strengths and limitations, and South Korea's approach emphasizes efficiency, innovation, alliances, and readiness, which allows it to protect its borders, respond to modern threats, and maintain stability in East Asia. And this comparison helps learners understand international security in practical terms without implying aggression or taking sides.
In the next section, we will summarize the main points of South Korea's military development, technological progress, alliances, and global role. and explain what learners can take away from this discussion about strategy, innovation, and careful planning. Continuing in simple, clear English so that students can reinforce their vocabulary and comprehension while understanding how nations maintain security in a responsible and peaceful way.
Even though South Korea has built a strong military, it still faces several challenges that influence its defense planning, because the country must carefully manage economic resources, address demographic changes such as a declining birth rate and an aging population, respond to regional tensions, and monitor the unpredictable actions of North Korea, which together create a complex environment where balancing national security, economic growth, and social stability requires thoughtful strategies and long-term planning.
For English learners, it is helpful to understand that economic limits mean the government cannot spend unlimited money on defense, so South Korea must decide how much to invest in soldiers, technology, missiles, and cyber programs, while also funding education, healthcare, infrastructure, and other social services, which creates a constant need to balance priorities to maintain both national security and the well-being of its citizens in a responsible and sustainable way. Another challenge is demographic change, because South Korea's population is aging rapidly while the birth rate remains low, and this trend affects the military's ability to recruit young people for active service and the economy's capacity to support defense spending, which means that planners must develop creative solutions such as improving training efficiency, using technology to supplement manpower, and exploring ways to maintain readiness with fewer resources, all while preparing for future security demands. Regional tensions also remain a critical factor, because South Korea is located near major powers such as China, Japan, and Russia, and the region experiences frequent disputes over trade, territory, and security policies, which requires South Korea to maintain strong defensive capabilities, diplomatic relationships, and alliance partnerships while avoiding actions that could escalate conflicts. And learners can see that understanding geography, history, and politics helps explain why security planning is so complex.
North Korea's unpredictable behavior is perhaps the most immediate challenge, because the North continues to develop missiles, conduct weapons tests, and make sudden political statements, which creates uncertainty about potential military scenarios, and South Korea must remain vigilant, invest in early warning systems, maintain a strong defense posture, and coordinate closely with allies to ensure that responses are effective, measured, and do not escalate tensions unnecessarily, showing how careful planning is central to national security.
For learners, it is useful to know that unpredictable neighbors require constant monitoring, flexible strategies, and strong communication systems, because countries like South Korea must be ready for sudden changes without provoking conflict. And this approach emphasizes prevention, preparedness, and the importance of intelligence gathering, while showing that modern military strength is about more than just equipment. It also depends on planning, decision-making, and diplomacy.
Economic limitations, demographic changes, regional tensions, and North Korea's behavior are interconnected, because funding, manpower, and alliances all influence how the country can prepare and respond to threats. And policymakers must carefully prioritize spending on military technology, training, and research while supporting domestic industries, cybersecurity, and space programs, which requires balancing short-term needs with long-term objectives to maintain security, stability, and prosperity simultaneously.
In addition, South Korea must consider global technological competition and security developments, because new weapons, cyber capabilities, and space systems are emerging constantly, and staying up to date requires investment, innovation, and collaboration with international partners, which adds another layer of challenge to planning defense strategies while maintaining peace, demonstrating that modern security is complex, multidimensional, and requires careful attention to both domestic and global trends.
Despite these challenges, South Korea continues to strengthen its defense posture by combining advanced technology, strategic alliances, domestic weapons production, and innovative solutions to manpower and economic constraints, which allows the country to remain prepared, adaptable, and resilient. And understanding these challenges helps English learners see that even strong nations must plan carefully, anticipate difficulties, and develop policies that balance multiple priorities to protect their people and maintain regional stability.
Overall, the challenges South Korea faces are part of a balanced, policy-safe discussion for learners, because recognizing economic limits, demographic trends, regional tensions, and North Korea's unpredictability helps students understand why national security requires careful strategy, cooperation, and innovation. And by exploring these issues in simple English, learners can improve both vocabulary and comprehension while gaining insight into the practical realities of modern military planning and international relations.
In the next section, we will provide a clear summary of South Korea's military strengths, challenges, technological achievements, and global partnerships, and explain what English learners can take away from this discussion about planning, strategy, innovation, and international cooperation, all in simple, slow, and detailed English, to reinforce understanding and vocabulary development for learners interested in global affairs. When we look at South Korea's growing military power and expanding global partnerships, it becomes important to understand how these changes influence the future of global security. And by global security, we simply mean the safety, stability, and peaceful cooperation of many countries across the world. So in this section, we will explore how South Korea's rise affects other nations, how it shapes military cooperation, and why the country's developments matter far beyond the Korean peninsula. And we will explain everything slowly and clearly, so every English learner can follow the ideas comfortably and confidently as the topic gradually builds in detail.
One major point to understand is that South Korea is no longer only focused on protecting itself from danger. Instead, it has become a country that shares technology, supports international peace missions, trains with partners across continents, and helps create a more balanced environment in global politics. And this balanced environment simply means that no single country becomes too powerful in a way that creates fear for others. So South Korea's responsible and cooperative behavior offers reassurance to nations that value stability, open communication, and predictable decision-making in international affairs.
As South Korea continues to develop advanced weapons, stronger cyber units, and modern space systems, other countries begin to see it as a reliable partner. And the word reliable here means that nations trust South Korea to keep agreements, follow international rules, and act carefully in times of tension, and this trust influences how alliances grow, how security discussions take place, and how countries choose partners for long-term cooperation, creating a network of nations that support one another through shared goals and transparent communication.
Many countries, especially in Europe and Southeast Asia, choose to buy South Korean defense equipment such as tanks, missile systems, and fighter jet components. And when they do this, they are not only purchasing machines, but also creating long-term strategic relationships, because every deal includes training programs, maintenance support, safety guidelines, shared communication channels, and regular cooperation meetings, which all help countries stay connected, exchange information, and prevent misunderstandings that could cause unnecessary tension during difficult regional situations.
Another important idea is that South Korea's technological strength does not only apply to traditional weapons, it also influences areas like cybersecurity, satellite monitoring, communication protection, and early warning systems, and these systems help detect threats before they become harmful, protect digital networks that support hospitals, airports, and financial institutions, and make sure that governments can communicate safely during emergencies. So when South Korea shares such technology with trusted partners, the overall stability of many regions becomes stronger and more secure.
South Korea's rise also encourages a healthier balance of power in East Asia, because if one nation becomes too dominant, others may feel uncomfortable or pressured. But when several countries grow at a similar pace and maintain strong alliances, they create a situation where peaceful cooperation becomes the most realistic and beneficial path for everyone. And this balanced situation reduces the likelihood of sudden military escalations or dangerous misunderstandings, which is why many global security analysts pay close attention to South Korea's progress and its responsible approach to defense planning.
Another key point is responsibility, since great military strength always comes with major responsibilities for peace, diplomacy, and transparency. And South Korean leaders often emphasize that their primary goal is self-defense, regional stability, and strong international partnerships, rather than aggression or dominance. And this message is important for the world, because it signals that South Korea wants to contribute to peace, support international rules, and build trust rather than provoke conflict, making the country a positive example of how military growth can be used responsibly.
South Korea also participates in peacekeeping missions, humanitarian support operations, and disaster response programs, which shows that its role is not limited to national protection, but extends to global welfare. And these activities help build South Korea's reputation as a country that uses its capabilities to support people in need, strengthen international cooperation, and promote peaceful problem-solving, which also encourages younger nations to adopt similar values when building their own security systems in the future.
When English learners study this topic, they can notice how international relationships are built not only on power, but also on communication, trust, long-term cooperation, and shared goals. And understanding these connections helps learners see that global security is not just about military strength. It is about teamwork, diplomacy, economic ties, cultural exchange, and constant dialogue. So South Korea's rise gives us a clear example of how modern nations influence each other through both technology and responsible decision-making.
Looking into the future, South Korea will likely continue investing in advanced weapons, cybersecurity protection, space surveillance, and partnerships with allies. And these steps will help the country maintain stability in Northeast Asia, while also supporting wider international efforts to reduce tension, share information, and prevent conflict. So the influence of South Korea's rise will continue growing as more nations recognize the benefits of working together instead of competing aggressively in sensitive regions where cooperation is needed most.
For learners around the world, South Korea's growth provides an inspiring lesson about how a country can develop strong defenses while still promoting peace, how technological progress can be used responsibly, and how nations can build trust through openness and steady communication. And by understanding these ideas in simple English, listeners can develop clearer thinking skills, stronger vocabulary, and a deeper understanding of how the modern world works at the political, technological, and security levels. As we finish our discussion about South Korea's military, it is important to remember that the country has built a strong and modern defense system that includes a capable army, a well-equipped navy, a technologically advanced air force, missile defense systems, cyber defense units, and space surveillance programs. And understanding these elements in simple English helps learners see how nations protect themselves, prepare for threats, and combine technology, strategy, and alliances to maintain security in a complex world.
We also learned about South Korea's domestic weapons industry, which designs and builds fighter jets, naval ships, tanks, drones, and missile systems. And seeing how technology supports national security gives learners clear insight into modern defense, while practicing vocabulary such as cybersecurity, missile defense, alliance, and export allows English learners to strengthen both comprehension and communication skills in topics related to global affairs and international relations.
Another key point is South Korea's alliance with the United States, because this partnership demonstrates how cooperation, shared technology, and joint training exercises can enhance a country's defense without creating conflict, and learners can understand that military strength is not only about numbers of soldiers or weapons, but also about strategic planning, partnerships, and intelligence, which are essential concepts for discussing world security clearly, accurately, and in simple English.
We also explored defense spending and global exports, which show that South Korea invests in research, advanced systems, and international trade. And by understanding the meaning of defense exports and how the country sells military equipment to Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, learners can expand their vocabulary and see how economic decisions, technology, and diplomacy are connected in practical ways that affect both national and global security.
Cybersecurity and space defense were also important topics, because they show that modern threats are not only physical, but also digital and orbital, and South Korea's development of specialized cyber units, satellites, and space monitoring systems illustrates how technology and innovation play a critical role in protecting the country. And this teaches learners that modern defense includes new fields, vocabulary, and skills that are increasingly relevant in the 21st century.
We compared South Korea with other military powers like Japan, China, and NATO nations in a balanced way, emphasizing differences in size, strategy, technology, and alliances. And for learners, this comparison demonstrates that understanding military strength involves not only numbers, but also efficiency, innovation, coordination, and partnerships, which are important concepts for discussing international security in a neutral, policy-safe, and educational context.
Challenges South Korea faces, including economic limits, demographic trends, regional tensions, and North Korea's unpredictable behavior, help learners understand that even advanced nations must carefully plan, prioritize resources, and balance multiple factors to maintain security. And recognizing these challenges also introduces important vocabulary like demographics, tension, resources, and preparedness, which can be applied to discussions about strategy, economics, and international relations in simple English.
Overall, this episode shows that learning English through real-world topics like global security allows students to practice comprehension, expand vocabulary, and think critically about current events, while staying safe for educational purposes because each concept, from military technology to alliances, spending, exports, cyber defense, and space systems, can be explained slowly and clearly to help learners gain both language skills and knowledge about the world around them.
For English learners, reflecting on this episode encourages curiosity, analytical thinking, and global awareness, because understanding how South Korea protects itself, develops technology, partners with allies, and faces challenges teaches valuable lessons about strategy, planning, and innovation, and by listening carefully and practicing new vocabulary, students can improve both English comprehension and their understanding of international affairs in a structured and beginner-friendly way.
Finally, we sincerely thank all listeners for joining us today, sharing your time, and engaging with this topic. And we encourage you to continue exploring global issues in English, apply the new words and ideas learned in conversation or writing. And remember that improving language skills while understanding the world is a rewarding journey. And we are grateful for your interest, attention, and dedication to learning in a safe, educational, and enjoyable environment.